There's a lot going on in Salem, Oregon these days, especially with the 2015 legislature. The session is moving very, very quickly, although it's only a few weeks old. But there are also a lot of other things going on right here in Salem. There is discussion about a new police facility in Salem. Polk County Public Safety Operating Levy is probably going to be on the ballot in May. Also, in May, the Marion County Extension Service District has a proposal. Lots going on. Welcome to People, Places, and Politics. I'm Patty Milne, your host, and I'm so pleased to have Nick Williams join me again today. Nick is the Public Policy Membership Manager with the Salem Chamber of Commerce. Well, Nick, as a chamber member myself, I follow your email updates. You are very, very busy.
Well, thanks for having us on, Patty. And I am just so impressed. You print that out and you have it right there in front of you.
It's my cheat sheet.
Yeah, nice work. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. You did a good job mapping some of it out. Some things we're paying attention to right now, the legislature, what's going on there. It's been a really interesting session to this point because there haven't been a whole lot of bills that have dropped. There are a lot of things that both in the House and Senate caucuses and committees that are being discussed, but we're in a place right now where there's a lot of negotiation that's taking place. And that, you know, if you pay attention to this stuff, that's kind of the, that's the fun part. You know, the beauty of our system is that you're in a room full of, or a building full of people that don't think the same way that you do. So you've got to kind of mold something that is going to get everybody to a place where something will pass.
The art of compromise.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's what politics is. So we're paying a lot of attention to that right now. And
what about the one of the things, I was to a political lunch meeting today, this compulsory paid sick leave, and the Chamber has taken a position on that.
Yeah, we have. We actually mobilized a number of our members on President's Day, actually. And we took 9 members, 5 of them offered testimony.
Good.
But, and that was great. We had a good response. There were chambers that were present from, and chamber members that were present, Eugene, Medford, Jackson County, the Portland Business Alliance. There were a number of different business associations, organizations, but most importantly, businesses themselves were there.
Good.
And that was really good to see. However, on this compulsory paid sick leave issue, the unions are very highly organized on this, you know, your public employee unions and the like. And so as a result of that, half of what happens in that building, and I'm frankly, I'm very new to this, but by comparison to some others, but half of what happens in that building is the words that are said in the negotiation. The other half is theater. And
you got it.
Yeah.
You got it.
And so with that theater, the public employee unions are doing, give them credit, they get a lot of people there, and they offer effective testimony. There was a boy that was, I think he was about 12 years old, and he was there with a speech that had been prepared. My assumption is that the speech was prepared by a union organizer, but that's neither here nor there.
You're probably correct on that. Yeah.
But what happened was it was very heartwarming to see you know, a young man engage in the process and get to deliver testimony during a joint committee meeting. It was big, and he talked about how his mother wasn't able to, when he was homesick, he had to be home by himself because his mother couldn't take days off of work. And so that is,
well, that's probably another discussion for another time. But
that was the testimony that was offered.
Right.
And so as a business community, we're very good at offering facts and figures and what this can do to a business and the bottom line impact. Where we can do a better job is by kind of paralleling those emotional stories. I felt like the agriculture community really did a good job of doing that. John Zielinski, one of our members, multi-generational farm, and he offered testimony that I felt was very heartfelt and impactful. And that's what we're going to have to do, is we're going to have to not only talk about the numbers and the facts and the figures, but as the challenges in the legislature continue with those that might not have the mindset of a business person, or what it takes to own and operate a business and cut a paycheck and make payroll. Those folks are not in leadership positions. They didn't win.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have to get really creative as a business lobby in how we tell the stories. So that's what our mobilization team is all about. The Salem Chamber we have roughly 100 members or 100
Great.
people that have said, I'm in. On one level or another, I will offer testimony and tell my story when it fits my business. With us, the things that we get involved in are the measures that have the potential to impact the entire private sector. So literally, we're paying attention, like close attention to about 6 bills, or excuse me, about 12 bills during this session. Those that are maybe industry specific, we don't pay as much attention to. But by mobilizing our members and helping them tell their stories down there, a lot of them are doing this for the first time. And that is, that's really heartwarming to see. That building is an intimidating place for folks that haven't spent a lot of time there.
And that's too bad, because it belongs to the people. It belongs to the taxpayers. It's collectively our building. It's not owned by the legislature or the state. It's owned by the people. And so I'm glad you're encouraging people to become more familiar with it, more familiar with the process, and be a part of the process.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah, and that is, that's at the foundation of the work that we do.
Yeah.
And eventually, you know what happens, we have a number of members that have been doing this with us for a number of years. Now they just show up. And they're starting to, and where you really move the needle as an individual or as an organization isn't so much when you go and offer testimony. It's when you go and offer testimony and everybody on that committee already knows you because you have visited with them already.
Credibility.
Absolutely. And so that's where the magic starts to happen, is during the off season. But we're in the middle of the session now. We're really proud of our members and the work that's been done to this point, and we're excited to continue that work. As uphill climb as it might be, we're optimistic. We're optimistic that that we'll be able to move the needle in one way or another. So.
Well, you're doing a great job. Some of our smaller chambers just don't have the manpower to get as actively involved. So very good.
Well, and that's something that we've taken it upon ourselves to at least offer chamber members that are part of smaller chambers that don't have the infrastructure that the Salem Chamber is blessed to have, where we're able to communicate and actually focus on these things. For those members that do want to, members of other chambers that want to get engaged, but they don't know how, they don't know where to start, we can include them in our correspondence.
Good.
And
That's
encourage
really
them to
great.
show up.
Such as, for example, in Woodburn, we're having some transitions and we've had a few setbacks recently. But so that's great that you're there to help everybody too.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about these local issues.
Okay.
Polk County Public Safety Levy and the Marion County Extension Service District proposal. And you've taken positions on both of those? Did you?
we're in the process on both of them. We had our public policy session on March 5th, and that's where these issues were presented. The Salem Chamber, we have a very methodical process that we go through when we're taking positions on different, whether it be candidates or measures, bond measures in this case. So we had our public policy session last week, and we had a contingent from Polk County. We'll start there. Polk County Public Safety is operating on frankly, a shoestring budget.
It's true. Yeah.
And what that comes from is for a good number of years, there was revenue. The most recent number, kind of in its heyday, was $2.3 million that came into Polk County as a result of funds generated from logging on what were called Oregon and California Railroad timberlands. These were
referred to as the ONC lands, yes.
ONC lands, yes, thank you. And so that revenue isn't there anymore due to federal regulations on timber harvesting. Counties such as Josephine County has been hit really hard. Polk County here in the Mid-Valley. Marion County, as you well know, we didn't rely as heavily on those dollars, but those dollars did used to come into Marion County.
It still makes a huge difference,
It
especially
does.
for sheriff, like the rescue efforts and up at Detroit Lake.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, and those are, every dollar has a name, and particularly with public safety. And this is important to us as an organization because as people are thinking about whether it be just relocating their family or a place to start a business or potentially move a business,
makes a big difference.
a very key component to that is my business going to be safe? And right now in Polk County, they only have an officer, a deputy, that is on patrol 10 hours a day. They don't even have 24-hour patrol. So what's happening is folks that live in rural parts and maybe they're not served by a municipality like the city of Salem or the city of Monmouth or others, and they have a call, 911 call, whatever that may be, there are some hours in the day where they don't get served right now.
There have already been reported in the newspaper some incidences where they just couldn't get there on time, and that's just unacceptable.
It is.
Just really, really is, for all these reasons you earlier stated. Why would somebody move, especially to rural, because that's where the sheriff serves, the rural area outside of the city limits, and why would you move there if you're not going to, if you have some kind of incident, whatever it may be, and no one's going to respond, you're going to make a decision to live somewhere else.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
So what Polk County's doing right now is they are, and it will be on the ballot May 19th. If you're a resident of Polk County, you'll be voting on that. And what this will do is it will help them at least get some of their patrolmen on, or some of their deputies on the road 24 hours a day. It will be they will be sparse, but they will be there and able to respond. Also, some of the crimes that, where they do catch people, but the district attorney's office is not able to prosecute some of these or not able to effectively prosecute some of these crimes. And that's another issue in and of itself. So there's the patrol, but then they're on the back end, the prosecution.
Right.
So the best way that their Board of Commissioners has found to help fund this is in the form of additional property taxes. So that's that operating levy that the voters will be voting on.
I was going to look here. They've had to reduce, had a reduction of 10 hours a day, 7 days a week. I don't see, do you know offhand roughly what this levy will mean, like per thousand or $100,000 home?
It's 45 cents, if I'm not mistaken, 45 cents per thousand, and that equated to $80 a year on a $200,000 home. So it's roughly $7 a month, to use $6 to $7 a month, right around in there is what it would come out to. But that gives them enough. Or not enough, but more than they have now. So where we're at on this is it has been forwarded. I created a memo as a result of that public policy session. Our members voted on it. They did vote in favor of it, although it was not unanimous of the members that were in attendance. We created a memo, forwarded that onto our executive committee. That's kind of the board of directors that governs the larger board of directors. That will be voted on by the larger board later this month, and our position will be established at that time.
Okay.
So our members that were in attendance were in favor of it. We'll see what happens with the larger, with the chamber as an organization here within about the next week, week and a half.
Good. So let's talk a little bit about the Marion County Extension Service District proposal. That also will be on that May ballot.
It will be.
So give us a little background on, of course, this was a big discussion for the last year or so, including last year before I retired from the Marion County Board of Commissioners. So give the audience a little background on what that is and what it means to Marion County, to the citizens in Marion County.
Sure. So I'm going to take off my chamber hat just for a second. And full disclosure, I was in the video that's being used because I was a 4-H kid. I grew up over in Central Oregon, and I was a 4-H kid from the time I was 9 years old all the way through high school. So I showed beef cattle and I had horses and sheep and anything that I could make a buck off of in an auction. So, but so this is really personal to me. What I learned as being a 4-H kid, and that is probably the most notable thing that an extension service offers, is the 4-H programs. And as a result of being a 4-H kid, I learned a lot about personal responsibility, how to take care of something other than myself, and then some business principles such as you could save a lot of money by purchasing the grain to feed the market steer in buying a lot of it in, say, early fall versus springtime, because just a number of different things. I just learned how markets worked and kind of the ebbs and flows with things and how to pay attention to and find out these things. So personally, those are things that I gained. Now where we're at is Marion County's Extension Service has been operating. It hasn't been serving at as high of a level as it could.
Right.
There are a number of things that an extension service is capable of doing that they just don't do in Marion County, which frankly is silly. Marion County is the #1 ag producing county in the state of Oregon. There are more dollars that come into, it's our #1 industry in Marion County by a lot.
Yes.
We're proud of that. What an extension service does, a number of things. It brings agriculture into a way that people that might not be farmers can digest it. So teaching things such as how to garden, how to become a master gardener, things of that nature. A number of tremendous resources. In addition to that, and probably more of an economic impact, a solid communication structure between those that are in the agriculture industry. So farmer A is in the east side of the county and a pesticide that used to work isn't working anymore, or he wants to try a different alternative. Without something like the extension service, he would either have to rely upon what his neighbor told him or what a pesticide salesperson told him.
Which could be conflicting information.
It totally, absolutely. That's a great point. And so what the Extension Service District does in this example is it's a neutral third party that is backed up by science and research that's done at a agriculture university at Oregon State University. So it's a fantastic mesh. The Extension Service represents a fantastic mesh of a number of different things that are helpful to our ag business community. In order to fund this, it's going to take some money. In the city of Salem, we are capped out in bonds. So if you live in Salem, you will not, you won't even be able to vote on this. If it does pass, you won't be charged for it. So it really is people that are in more rural Marion County.
So this issue, and again, a discussion for another time, but the compression issue
That's
is
correct.
What you're talking about, and there's some discussion going on that. But before we run out of time to talk about some of the other really pertinent things with this, Polk County has their own district.
They do.
Clackamas County does, and I'm not does Lynn County of our surrounding?
I believe Lynn County does, yes. There are, and they're not necessarily county by county. In some places, it's more of a region. In Marion County, it makes sense for this to be within Marion County, simply because the number of people that they could serve, and the positive economic impact that can come from this.
And correct me if what I say is inaccurate. Recent legislative budgets, the funding from the state that comes to Marion County to fund extension, that funding keeps decreasing.
Yeah, it's one
It
of
is
the pots.
not that Marion County government doesn't support extension, that Marion County now is supporting this special district.
Yes.
So it's the craziness of state budgets, and it's really important that these services are able to continue, especially as you mentioned, Nick, for 4-H, and we have to maintain those programs because otherwise these kids have nowhere else to go for that specific program. Oh gosh, I thought I had remembered all the information that had been shared before I left the county, because again, we did have a lot of discussion on this.
Well, and the Marion County Board of Commissioners, if I'm not mistaken, are the chief petitioners of this particular, the creation of this district. So this was actually put on the ballot by the Marion County Board of
I
Commissioners.
think that decision may have been made, well, it doesn't matter, might have been made, that decision of how to proceed after I left,
Okay.
which is fine. It just makes it easier. But I know there was a lot of effort. John Burt, who is representing the Citizens for Marion County Extension PAC, of course, he's a former extension guy, still very actively involved in that. And he and the group, the PAC, have been doing a lot of work talking to groups and helping people become more familiar. May will be here really, really soon.
Yeah.
So it's important to get this information out.
Yeah.
As well as the Polk County Public Safety Levy.
And John's doing a great job. Also, Chuck Adams is running point on this as an advisor to make sure that the message is getting out there at a high level. So I'd encourage your viewers to go to Google the Marion County Extension Service District, or just Marion County Extension will take them to the right place. But there's a tremendous amount of information online, and that goes into some further detail, but it's overall it's something that I feel good about on a personal note. And the Salem Chamber, again, same timeline with the Polk County Public Safety Operating Levy. That will the decision as to whether or not to endorse will be made at about the same time. So.
Okay. And then there are a couple things that won't be on the ballot, but that are of interest to people. From your recap here, the Big Toy Project at Kaiser Rapids Park, and then also if you want to take a minute to talk about that, and also whatever you would like to share or bring people up to date if the Chamber's been involved in the discussion on a new police facility.
I guess I'll start with the Big Toy Project. That has been a multi-layer, it's a good story. Marion County, state parks, the city of Kaiser, they all work together really well to secure this property, figure out what to do with it. And then from there, this group of concerned citizens has been out raising money to purchase this fantastic play structure. And then I believe in June, they're going to have a community build, and they're going to build the doggone thing with all volunteer labor. So it's being done very cost effectively. This was brought before our members for a couple of reasons. One, to show off how different layers of government can work together. That's a good story to tell. In addition to that, the economic impact that this could potentially have, this is going to draw a lot of families into Kaiser and Marion County. Even though that it's in Kaiser, high tide makes all the boats float, you know, and so it's good for Kaiser, it's good for Salem. And so we brought this before our members, kind of took a straw poll at the end of the presentation. They were all in favor of it. So we sent off an endorsement letter actually right before I showed up here today.
Good.
What that endorsement letter is going to do, there are still some dollars that need to be secured, and those are being secured through grants and so forth. And the committee is doing a really solid job of bringing in all of the community partners and players to sign off on this, to make that grant writing opportunity or grant writing process much more efficient. So we were more than happy to participate and be involved in that way. And this summer, Kaiser Rapids Park, that's where this big toy is going to be. So if you've got kids, or if you are a big kid, get out there and go play. It's going to be something else. We're really excited about that.
Good. And then just very briefly, anything you want to share about the Chamber's thoughts on a new Salem police facility?
Well, only that the Mayor's Blue Ribbon Task Force that Mayor Anna Peterson put together, they're doing a good job of really vetting all the different places this can be, where it should be. There are a number of different options that exist in our community. Those that are closer to downtown are going to cost more to build. Those that are further away from downtown are going to be less expensive. Long-term inefficiencies built in there. No plan has been signed off on yet. I would say that if you were to poll our members, they would be in favor of and understand that that having 100 and I believe the Salem Police has 180 officers now operating out of a 25,000 square foot space. That's about a third the size that it should be.
It's very tiny. I
Tiny.
can vouch for that. It's very tiny
Yeah.
and very inefficient.
Tiny,
It is,
inefficient. We're at the table as an organization that's concerned about the health of Salem, and just helping them figure out the right way to go, where it's going to go, what's a cost that the voters could potentially stomach. So that's where we're at right now.
Good.
More to come on that.
Good. All right. Well, we're going to have to wrap it up. I want to thank Nick Williams again for being here, public policy and membership manager at the Salem Chamber, and that's just the tip of the iceberg of all the things you're doing and why it's so important. If you're interested in becoming a member, learning more, Nick, how do they get in touch with you?
Easiest way, the phone number at the Chamber, 581-1466, or shoot me an email, Nick, N-I-C-K, at salemchamber.org.
Okay, and thank you again for watching People, Places, and Politics, and be sure to watch this episode and upcoming shows. Thank you so much, Nick, for being here, and
My
we're going
pleasure.
to see you again, too. So.
Absolutely. Thanks, Patty.
Good. Thanks so much.